What it means by customary length, well, we either have metric, which is like the system that uses the meter, hence metric, or customary, which is what we tend to use in America, the inches, the feet, the yards, and the miles. So whenever we are working with this, we are going to be working on converting different lengths, like converting inches to feet, feet to yards, yards to miles, all of that jazz. So let's go on ahead and get started. There's going to be a helpful little chart on the second page, so I won't just draw it out yet. Number 1. To build a new swing, Mr. Matson needs 9 feet of rope for each side of the swing and 6 more feet for the monkey bar. The hardware store sells rope by the yard. So Mr. Matson needs to find out how many yards of rope he needs to buy. Well, it says he needs 9 feet of rope for each side of the swing. So we've got 9 plus 9 and 6 more for the monkey bar plus 6. So we add all that together and we've got 24 feet. And that is my fault for not putting the units down. Units are going to be very, very important in here. So it says that the hardware store sells rope by the yard. So we need to convert feet to yards. So I think most of you all know that there are 3 feet in a yard. So if you want to change feet into yard, since 3 feet equals 1 yard, we need to divide 24 feet divided by 3. And that will give us 8 yards. Alright, so now we're on to the second page. And this is where we will change things up just a little bit, but not too hard. There's only going to be a couple of steps anytime we're converting our units, and we're going to use this magical little table to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you something to write up here. If you're going from bigger units to, smaller units to bigger units, you'll divide. And if you're going from bigger units to smaller units, you'll multiply. So what that means is, let's say you're going from inches to feet. Well, there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So since you're going from a smaller unit to a bigger one, you're going to have to divide. And because there's 12 inches in 1 foot, you'll have to divide by 12. And the opposite works for whenever you're going from bigger to smaller. If you're going from a mile to feet, you're going to have to multiply by 5,280. So that is how we can use this chart. And there's not very many. Really, the big thing that you need to know is how to use this chart. And you'll start to memorize it pretty quickly as you do. So let's look at this problem. The distance between New High School and the football field is 2 miles. How does that distance compare to 10,000 feet? Well, whenever we are comparing, that means we're using less than, greater than, or equal to. So we need to see if 2 miles is less than, greater than, or equal to 10,000 feet. So what we need to do is to convert those units. So there's a couple different ways we can do that. We can either turn miles into feet or feet into miles. So let's look at that number we're going to be using. Regardless, if you're talking about miles and feet, you're going to use 5,280. So we can either go from miles to feet or from feet to miles. So let's go from miles to feet, because multiplying 2 by 5,280 is a lot easier than dividing 10,000 by 5,280. So let's convert both of these to feet. So to do that, because we're going from a bigger unit, miles, to a smaller unit, feet, you need to multiply the total number of miles by 5,280. So 2 times 5,280 is going to give us 10,560. So 10,560 feet. I am a very poor example of this. Make sure you are using your units. Don't want to get lost in there anywhere. So now we need to compare these two things. 2 miles, which was 10,560 feet, and then 10,000 feet. Hopefully we can tell 10,560 is bigger than 10,000 feet. So since 2 miles is greater than 10,000, the distance between the new football field and new high school and field is greater than 10,000 feet. All right, so not too bad. We just need to do two things anytime we're converting. Number one, we need to see, are we going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit or a bigger unit to a smaller unit? Because that will tell us if we're multiplying or dividing. And then we can use this chart to see what we multiplied or divide by. So, number 2 says convert inches to feet and inches. So if we're going from inches to feet, we are going to be going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. Inches are smaller than feet, so I divide. How many numbers, or what number do I divide by? Well, there is 12 inches in 1 foot, so you'll have to divide that by 12. So 62 divided by 12. It's going to give us a 5, which will be 60, and 2 is our remainder. So that means that you will be having, instead of 62 inches, 5 feet and 2 inches. 5 feet and 2 inches. Your remainder just becomes whatever unit you had before. Whatever unit you had before is going to give you the unit for your remainder. So 5 feet and 2 inches. All right. So explain how to convert mixed measures, 12 yards and 2 feet, into a single unit of measurement in feet. How many feet is it? Well, that one seems tricky, but it's really not too bad. If you're converting 12 yards and 2 feet into feet, all you have to do is focus on that yards, because the 2 feet is already in feet. So we're going to look and think about it. Yards and feet. Since yards are bigger than feet, you're going to have to multiply. So 12 times, how many feet are in a yard? Well, 3 feet are in a yard. So that's 36. And then what you have to do is add that 2 feet that you already had. So 12 yards and 2 feet is actually just going to be 38 feet. Moving right along. As you can see, there's a pretty simple pattern here. You find out if you're getting bigger or smaller. That tells you to multiply or divide. Then you use the chart to fill in the rest. So I'm going to do 1 through 3 with you all, and then I'm going to give you a chance to do 4 through 11 by yourselves. So number 2, we're going from miles to yards. Well, miles are much bigger than yards, so we already know it's going to be 2 times, and now we can check our chart. There's 1,760 yards in a mile. So 2 times 1,760. And if we multiply that together, we get 3,520. And that's really all there is to this, guys. You see if you're getting bigger or smaller, and then you fill it in. Yards to feet. Yards are bigger than feet, so 6 yards times, and how many feet are in a yard? Well, 3 feet are in a yard, so that gives you 18. Ooh, finally a challenge, something new. Inches to feet and inches. So, inches are smaller than feet. That means we're going to have to divide. So 90 divided by, how many inches are in a foot? Check your chart if you need to. That'll be 12. So I'll work that out here for y'all to see. 90 divided by 12. 12 is going to go into 90. That is going to be 7 times. That gives you 84 with 6 left over. So 7 remainder 6. So 7 feet and 6 inches. I think you all have gotten the hang of this. Just to be sure we understand down here at the bottom though, I will do number 7 for you just so you get what to do. So we're comparing feet to yards. So I will tell you, whenever you're comparing, it is always easier to convert your bigger units into smaller units. You can just multiply and get a whole number. If you start dividing, then you would get some decimals or fractions. So whenever you're comparing, always take your bigger units and convert them into your smaller units. In this case, we have 3 yards. Yards is the bigger unit. So we take 3 times, how many feet are in a yard? Well, 3, which is 9. So, which is bigger, 8 feet or 9 feet? 9 feet. All right, what I want you to do, I want you to complete 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Go ahead, figure that out, pause the video, and check when you're done. All right, and we are back. So, let's check and see how you did. I have all of my work over here on the right in case something doesn't make sense. You're not sure how I got something. So for number 4, you should have got 10 feet and 5 inches. And since inches are smaller than feet, we know we have to divide by 12 because there's 12 feet in an inch, or 12 inches in a foot. Number 5, you should have got 15 yards and 1 foot. Feet smaller than yards, so you have to divide, and there's 3 feet in a yard, so you divide by 3. Number 6, you're going from yards to feet, so you're going to have to multiply. Multiply that one by 3 because there's 3 feet in a yard. And then remember, that extra 2 feet you just add on at the end. So, number 7, I already did for you. Number 8, we actually already found out that 2 miles is 10,560 earlier, but in case you forgot, miles to feet, so you're going to have to multiply those 2 miles by 5,280 and you'll get 10,560, which is bigger than that. Number 9 and number 10 might have been a little bit tricky for you. I didn't even write down my answer to number 10, rip. Number 9, we have 3 yards and 2 feet. So let's go ahead. We don't know how many inches are in yards off the top of our head, but we know how many yards are in feet. So let's go ahead, or feet are in yards. So let's go ahead. We'll turn those yards into feet by multiplying by 3. Then we add that extra 2 to give us 11. So 11 feet and 132 inches. Well, let's turn those feet into inches. You know that there's 12 inches in a foot, and since feet are bigger than inches, we multiplied by 12 to give us 132. Now, number 10 was a tricky one. I had confidence in you all. Let's see if it paid off. Let's see how we did. So, Terry is making 6 hat and scarf sets. Each scarf requires 2 yards of material, and each hat requires 18 inches of material. How many feet of material does he need for all 6 hat and scarf sets? So, we know that each hat, as you can see over here on this little bottom part right down there, you've got 2 yards for each hat. So since we had 6 of them, I went ahead and multiplied that by 6. So it's 12 yards in total we'll need just for the hats. And then I converted those yards to feet. Yards are bigger than feet, so we multiply, and there's 3 feet in a yard, so we multiply by 3. And I did the same thing for scarves. We need 6 scarves. Each of them has 18 inches, so 6 times 18, we need 108 inches total. And then I take that 108 inches and I divide it by 12 because there's 12 inches in 1 foot. And I got 9 feet. So we ended up with our answer of 36 plus 9, 45 feet. And then of course 11 to convert feet to yards, you divide by 3. So please remember what you need to do for each of these problems is you find out if you're going to a bigger unit or a smaller unit. If you're going to a bigger unit, you divide. If you're going to a smaller unit, you multiply. And then you can use that chart to find out what you multiply by. And I bet pretty quickly you'll start to get them memorized. So what I'm going to say, I don't need you to worry about this little chart down here. It's unnecessary. 12 and 13 though, that's something we can do. I'll set you up for 12 and 13 and I'll let you solve it on your own. So Javon is helping his dad build a tree house. He has a piece of trim that is 13 feet long. How many pieces can Javon cut that are 1 yard long? And how much of a yard will he have left over? So what you need to do is see how many yards you will have. But keep in mind it said how much of a yard will he have left over as well. So your remainder is going to need to be turned into a fraction. And remember, you can turn your remainder into a fraction by simply putting your remainder over your numerator. Or excuse me, your remainder over your divisor, or the number you're dividing by. So let's take a look at 13. Patty is building a rope ladder for a tree house. She needs 2 5-foot pieces of rope for the sides of the ladder. And then she needs 7 pieces of rope, each 18 inches long for the steps. How many feet of rope does she need to make the ladder? So let's just do this one sentence at a time. She's building a rope ladder for a tree house. She needs 2 5-foot pieces for the ladder. So that gives us 10 feet already. And then she needs 7 pieces of rope, each 18 inches long. So 7 times 18. That is going to give us 126 inches. So you've got 10 feet and you've got 126 inches. You need to figure out how much all of this is going to be in feet. All right, and number 12, remember you are finding out how many pieces can Javon cut that are 1 yard long and how much will be left over. So really you're converting that 13 feet into 1 yard. So you all go ahead and figure that out. Pause the video and take her over. Alright guys and girls, so let's check it out. So for number 12 you should have gotten 4 and 1/3. What you probably got is 4 remainder 1 because 13 feet, well, to turn that into yards you just divide by 3. But it said how much of a yard will he have left over? So he will have 1 out of the 3 feet that he needs to make a yard. And then he'll have 4 total yards. So 4 and 1/3. But 4 remainder 1 technically is not wrong. For number 13, you could have either gotten 20 feet and 6 inches or 20.5 feet. Because 6 inches is half of a foot. It takes 12 inches to make a foot, so 20.5. And here's how I got that. Patty is building a rope ladder for a treehouse. 2 5-foot pieces. We already did that to get our 10 feet. Yeet. Then 7 times 18 to get you 126. You can turn that into feet by dividing 126 by 12, and that gives you 10 remainder 6. So that means 10 feet and 6 inches. So 10 feet and 6 inches plus 10 feet is just 20 feet and 6 inches. Alright, I know this video was long. I tried to explain it the best I could. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me to let me know. I'm here to help you all, and I'd be more than happy to talk you through it, even if I need to call you, if I need to record a separate video and just for you of me working a problem out, whatever you need me to do. I'll help you out. Just reach out, and as always, keep it 212. Peace out.